What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. All right, guys, another town hall in the books, and we have the 5 biggest takeaways from this most recent town hall. This is from May 8th, 2023. Again, this is not a full-on summary. We are looking at the official town hall summary from Splinterlands on the Hive blog or PeakD. And there's other fantastic content creators, both written and video, that put together summaries, and I highly recommend you show them some support and go check them out. So let's go ahead and dive in. I have my 5 things here. There's a bunch of bonus items. There was actually quite a bit in this, and so I'm going to try and keep this as concise as possible. We'll use this as a visual reference, but let's just go ahead and jump in. Big thing was Chatter was back. I think they said he hadn't been on the town hall in like a month or more, and so he came in heavy with marketing updates. And these first 3 points here, first 3 takeaways, are actually the main things that Chatter talked about. So first thing that's been on our mind, Chibi Dinos. Here's what's happening with Chibi Dinos. We have a little bit more information now. There are 2 games essentially in the mix. The first is Primal Hoop, and that is a game that they have done completely on their own. It looks like that's coming out towards the end of May, and that really has nothing to do with Splinterlands and Venium or this whole thing, right? I believe that they may like list the game or do something with it, but Splinterlands does plan on building a new game. I guess, I don't know if it's Splinterlands. Sorry, Chibi Dinos does plan on building a new game that would come out on the GLS system. So that sounds pretty cool, because if you saw the game, or at least some footage from the game in a previous video, or if you go to their Twitter, it looks like a pretty solid game, right? It's just you're shooting hoops. It feels like a very, NBA Jam kind of thing, and it looks solid in terms of gameplay overall. So that's exciting that they're going to be able to come in and build a new game. The other thing is that hoop tokens will now be accepted for credit. So this is part of the Splinterlands team, or the Splinterlands company, essentially widening their net and being able to accept other cryptocurrencies, in this case, right, the Hoop token, which is part of the Chibi Dinos ecosystem, for credit. So it gives the Chibi Dinos folks a place to spend their money, or spend their Hoop token. And again, this goes to the company. The company gets to, the company gets to use that for credits or whatever the case is. And ultimately, it's beneficial, not necessarily for Splinterlands the game, but Splinterlands the company. And I think we're probably going to start differentiating between those two a lot more, especially after yesterday's town hall, because a lot of the things that are being built out, and we're going to get to it, like Arcade Colony, for example, a lot of these things are going to be stuff that actually happens outside of Splinterlands, similar to what the GLS platform is, but it's great for the Splinterlands company. So there's not maybe direct benefits, but a lot of indirect benefits that we can hopefully see when it comes to the Splinterlands ecosystem and game economy as it is. Okay. Number 3, but the third item here, the team is making money for integrating new games. And Aggie actually views this as better marketing, and it's hard to disagree with him, right? Because you can spend money to go out and try to bring players into the ecosystem, and that would be, I don't want to say futile, but in a bear market, it's really, really tough. And we're going to get into that in the second point. So the way Aggie views this is, why not bring more people, more projects, more communities into the overall ecosystem? And therefore, they are paying you, right? So it sounds like Chibi Dinos, again, I'm just speculating because they didn't actually confirm this, but based on what Aggie was saying, it sounds like Chibi Dinos is paying Splinterlands to do some kind of service, to accept the Hoop token, to create and build out games on the platform. And it's not just going to be Chibi Dinos. There's probably plenty of other projects that the team can approach, or that other projects have approached Splinterlands for to create. So if the team is going to be making money from these games, that to me is awesome for Splinterlands the company. Is it awesome for Splinterlands the game? Well, again, there's nothing direct there, and the impact that we feel would be indirect, and maybe even it might take a little while, and there could potentially even be massive delays and no benefits in some instances. But at the end of the day, everybody right now is crying about the fact that, oh, Splinterlands launched a promo card that was overpriced because they were trying to raise money and raise capital for themselves, right? And to pay their bills. Well, here's a situation now where they don't have to do that. If they're going to have revenue coming in from other areas, services that they are providing to other projects, to other games, a la Chibi Dinos, then ultimately that ends up being good for us overall, or for the ecosystem indirectly, because of the fact that now we don't need to worry about the team maybe inflating cards by having to sell more promo packs or promo cards, or inflating whatever the case is, or charging other fees, even though I don't think that the team really charges a lot of fees. At the end of the day, if we're worried about the runway that the team has, well, now we don't have to worry about the community being the one that provides or extends that runway. The team is doing awesome, projects with other, awesome collaborations with other projects that could potentially bring that in. So overall, I think that this is awesome for Splinterlands, the company. For Splinterlands, the game, it's indirectly cool, but at the end of the day, like I'm more bullish on Splinterlands, the company, than I am on Splinterlands, the game, for many reasons. I think Splinterlands, the game, is cool. I love it. But it's very niche, and at the end of the day, I don't know how many people would actually play it if the game were to go quote unquote mainstream. But at the end of the day, this is to me a net positive for the ecosystem, but it does not, in my opinion, impact anything directly for Splinterlands. It doesn't for Splinterlands players, Splinterlands SPS stakers, for example. So take from that what you will. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great sign. I think it's a good direction for the company to go, but it doesn't necessarily do anything for the game itself. Okay. And again, that's just my opinion. Maybe we'll see other things come in the future, and we're going to get to that in a moment. Okay. The last thing here under the Chibi Dinos is both Aggie and Chatter were talking about how starting with a smaller project like this is great because you can kind of practice, cut your teeth on it, I think is the exact terminology that they used. And it's interesting because both of them, or combined, name dropped Activision, Blizzard, EA, Disney, right? So I don't know if these conversations are being had, but if they are, to the point that the team would feel comfortable name dropping them, that's pretty awesome in my opinion. Again, I don't know. I'm just saying that these were name dropped in the town hall, not as we are actively working with them, but we want to do smaller projects, make sure that we can have everything in place so that when the Activisions, the Blizzards, the EAs come to us, right, or we want to work with them, we already have the platform built out. We already have the kinks worked out, and everything should run smoothly. So I don't know. That to me is exciting. Aggie has always been a very big thinker, and I think that's one of the things most of the people in the community really respect about him. So here's one of the ways in which I think it's great that Chibi Dinos can be something that is phenomenal for the entire Splinterlands, right? The company ecosystem, rather than just a Splinterlands game. Okay, focusing in on Splinterlands marketing, this was number 2 in terms of the Chatter topics. I thought this was just an interesting stat that Chatter shared. In the bull market, the cost of acquisition for the team to get a new player was $33. Now, you think, okay, it's $33 to get a new player into the game. They're going to spend at least $10 to get the spellbook, of which the team gets, I guess, $7 minus the credits. I don't know if that was active at that time, but either way, we're just estimating money here. Again, I don't know what that means. Obviously, it's gone up significantly since that time in a bear market, which is why the team has kind of pulled back from that. But the good thing for people who are so worried about marketing is that it seems as though the team is finally ready to start focusing on retention, which might be disappointing. I'm sure the Salt Lords are going to come and throw a bunch on this and be like, why weren't they doing this 6 to 12 months ago when we were bleeding players? And you're not wrong, right? But it's just good to hear Chatter talking a lot of the stats, or the fact that they're looking at a lot of the data now and seeing how they can build that in, or build processes or tutorials or whatever the case is in order to retain a lot of the players. So not just acquire, but also make sure that we are retaining the players. Weirdbeard's done a lot of surveys. You've probably seen them or heard him talk about it. And Weirdbeard actually was on a live stream recently. Again, he wasn't on the live stream. He was in the comments of the live stream, but he shared an interesting stat, which was if a player stays longer than 9 days in the ecosystem, then they tend to stay for the long haul. But most players come in, and if they don't stay 9 days or longer, then they leave and never come back, right? So 9 days seems to be that thing, right? How can we keep people engaged for longer than 9 days? What are the things that we can be doing? So that wasn't part of this town hall, but that was just a separate stat that I thought was interesting and obviously related to where the team is focusing now. So at the end of the day, I don't think that this is a great time for marketing. And to be honest, I don't think the last 6 to 12 months were a great time for marketing either, right? We had the collapse of Terra Luna, we had the collapse of Celsius, collapse of BlockFi, collapse of FTX that have all happened within the last 12 months. And ultimately, people were scared of crypto. We saw a massive sell-off. 2022 was a really rough year. So focusing in now that the team is getting ready to launch several new projects, right? GLG, Tower Defense, Land 1.5. Now that we're going to have these, well, let's get back to the drawing board of, okay, how much does it cost to acquire and how much does it cost to retain? And at the very least, let's focus on retention. And it looks like that's where their focus is going to be next, at least from a marketing standpoint. So at least that's going on. I think it's great. And I'm curious to hear more details and more numbers if Chatter is ever willing to share that. Number 3, Arcade Colony. Now, this is something that it sounds like Aggie's been working on for a while, or he wanted to kind of tease it in the town hall. And it sounds pretty cool, I got to say. So Arcade Colony, from my understanding, based on what they said in the town hall, it sounds as though it is going to be similar to GLS. And actually, let's see if we can even go and get a little bit more information here. So Arcade Colony. So it's going to be a listing platform for more games. It's going to be a fork of the GLG system. They're talking with Unity. Invenium allows people who have built in Unity to build here. They want to find Web 2 games and bring them in through Invenium. I think Invenium and Arcade Colony are kind of the same thing, or at least one is going to lead to the other. We'll hopefully get more information on that. But think about it this way. You got Splinterlands, the platform as it is. We're about to get our second game, and maybe you can even say our third game with Land, right, on the Splinterlands ecosystem. So you have the card game, or traditional card game, whatever you want to call it. You have Tower Defense, which is going to be part of that same ecosystem. And then you have Land 1.5 that will be going live and being a more active part of the ecosystem or economy than it is now. So that's one platform. Then you have the GLS, Genesis League Sports Platform, that has the GLG, Genesis League Goals game, as the first game and kind of launch title for that platform, completely separate from Splinterlands. What it sounds like is that Arcade Colony is going to be a third platform similar to GLS, where the team is going to focus on getting new games that aren't sports related and aren't Splinterlands related. And keep in mind, the GLG or the GLS system, it sounds like they're going to have the Chibi Dinos game as potentially the second game on there. At least it's going to be a game in the works. So when it comes to Arcade Colony, it sounds like there will potentially be SPS airdrops. Again, Aggie actually mentioned that. Otherwise, I would not put it here. But there'll be a whole new token system. There'll be a whole new, similar setup. At least that's what it sounds like to me, where they're going to have their own version of DEC. They're going to have their own version of SPS. They're going to have their own version of vouchers. So, at the end of the day, that's pretty cool. It's exciting. And it can allow for games that maybe have a little bit more of an arcade style genre to them. I can't remember exactly what Aggie had mentioned, but he was just talking about like a first person shooter or something like that. So I don't know exactly what the game plan is, but they do want to be able to not just have to build all the games themselves. The whole focus is on bringing Web 2 games into the ecosystem overall. And I thought this time frame was interesting, but they're hoping to onboard large games, Web 2 games, into the ecosystem by the end of the year. And when you think about the fact that the end of the year is less than 7 months away, that's pretty cool. That's exciting. And here's the thing, for all the salt lords out there who don't feel like that these timelines are, for all the salt lords that don't feel like these timelines are accurate, think about it this way. Even if they miss by the end of the year, if we get everything in sometime in Q1 or even Q2 of 2024, that's around the time of the Bitcoin halving. And it could be really exciting around that time, especially if we're launching a bunch of new stuff and building out the Splinterlands, the company ecosystem, with not just one platform, not just 2 platforms, but potentially 3 platforms with multiple games on each platform. So that's actually really exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing more about Arcade Colony. Again, they just wanted to do a little bit of a teaser, but ultimately, buy and stake your SPS if you think that the airdrops for Arcade Colony will be worth it. If you think and keep in mind that you're already getting the airdrops for GLS, the GLS platform, but the GLX token specifically. But we'll see where that goes once the game is actually live. Okay, number 4. this is probably the thing that stuck out to me the most, and I'll try not to spend too much time on this. In fact, I'm going to keep it short. There was a moment in there in which Aggie, again, just kind of slipped. He's like, we're probably not going to release Rebellion until the market is better. And in my mind, I was just like, oh, okay. So that whole cycle of wanting to release a new set every 12 months, right? 9 months of sales, 3 months off, or even when you're looking between Chaos Legion and Rebellion, July was the initial time frame, right? They were saying that we were going to burn out of packs by the end of March, and the earliest time that we would see anything would be July, right? 3 months. And then, of course, it could potentially go up higher than that. We know that between Untamed and Chaos Legion, it was about 5 months. So in my mind, I was thinking 3 to 5 months is probably okay. Maybe even 3 to 6 months would be okay. So going from end of March to sometime in September actually made sense. But then we had the added wrinkle of this potential promo set. We have the added wrinkle of Land wanting to eat up a bunch of cards. And then this comment of, we're not going to release Rebellion until the market is better, which to me says Rebellion's sitting on the sidelines until the market actually shows that it can support probably a large set, right? I'm assuming the team wouldn't want to release something that's less than 15 million packs, even though we ended up burning 3 million of those Chaos Legion packs, or close to 3 million of those Chaos Legion packs. So, in my opinion, and again, this is all speculation based on what Aggie said, it seems as though, and I was already thinking that the earliest we'd see Rebellion would be sometime in Q4, right? We're probably going to see a promo set if the ink dries on that deal. And if that happens, that'll probably be Q3 sometime, because it's not happening in Q2. We got too much happening in June. So if we get that promo set in Q3, that pushes Rebellion to Q4. But now I don't even think we're going to see Rebellion in 2023 at all. I actually think there's, if this is to be believed, and if we see all the other stuff happening, I don't think we see Rebellion in 2023. I think we see it in 2024. Now, that's not to say, I'm not looking at this as necessarily a bad thing, right? I'm looking at this in the sense that, well, I know that the team the team has been very clear about this, saying that they want us to feel the scarcity of everything, right? DEC, SPS, cards. So they have that flexibility. They don't need to release another set. And here's the great thing that we can tie into the first point. If these core sets are one of the main ways in which the team is earning revenue, then they have to release them on a regular cyclical basis. But if they're bringing in revenue from other projects like this, well, then we can go a while until Rebellion comes in. And I'm sure many of the folks here who are gamers first, or who love the game first, will probably be upset about that. But ultimately, I think we're going to get a lot of cool things in the meantime, right? Over the next 6 months, or 7 months, I guess, June through the end of the year, we're going to get Land Phase 1.5. We're going to get Tower Defense. We are hopefully going to get new game modes. And then if they can stick the landing on Land Phase 2.0, that is supposed to come out by the end of this year. So the question then becomes, and I'll put this out to the chat, or to folks if you want to comment or if you want to discuss it in the comments. What would you rather have by the end of this year? Would you rather have Rebellion, or would you rather have Land 2.0? And again, I don't know what the resource capacity of the team is, but we do know that it's limited, right? I mean, nobody has unlimited resources. So I'm just kind of putting this out there to see, well, if they can only focus on one, because both of those are going to be relatively major updates to the game. If they can only focus on one, what would you prefer? Would you prefer Rebellion, or would you prefer Land Phase 2? And maybe we can't really answer that until we see how Land Phase 1.5 goes and how engaged it can keep people. Maybe it can bring people back or bring people in. But at this point in time, knowing what we know, right? Early May, so I guess there's almost like 8 months left in the year. What would you want to see by the end of the year? So I'll leave it at that. But that's kind of where my head is at. I think we only get one of them by the end of the year. I think we only get Rebellion, or we get Land Phase 2. So I'm curious to know what you guys would prefer. Okay, and then last thing, number 5, and I forgot if this was Nate or Weirdbeard or Chatter who listed these out as things that they wanted to focus on post-June, because it sounds like we're going to get a bunch of deliveries in June, and the team's going to go back to the drawing board and start to work on the things that we as a community have been asking for. So it sounds like cosmetics, arena runs, or new game modes overall, and then new player tutorials. It seems like those were at least the 3 things listed. Obviously, that's not the only stuff, but since they were name dropped in that fashion, I did want to share them here because, again, I think cosmetics, Battle Pass, Arena Run, all these different game modes, if that could come in Q3 sometime, that could be really cool. It could add a lot of value, a lot of excitement to the game. And this is what I'm talking about, where I'm just like, well, Rebellion is Rebellion. Like, we're not really going to need it. If we're going to get new cards with this mini set or the promo set, if we're going to get new game modes in Q3, and we're going to get LAN 1.5 in Q2 and LAN Phase 2 in Q4, then yeah, I mean, of course, do I want Rebellion here? Yes, but at the same time, we don't necessarily need it if we're getting deliveries on all these other cool things. So that is my 5 biggest takeaways. Let's just run through these bonus items. So title locking should have gone live in the update for 5.9. So I'm actually recording this after the update or maintenance happened. So make sure if you have a title, you can go ahead and lock it and do so. Updated timelines. It sounds like GLG is still on track for early June. I will say the way that they were talking about on the town hall, it sounds like it's only going to be a beta in June. I don't know if the full play to earn is going to be there, but again, I'm not trying to spread FUD. That's just kind of what it sounded like, that because we don't have a beta yet, right? And so this game is supposed to come out with a whole play to earn element in less than a month. So I hope that they're able to do that, but it sounded as though they just are going to have some kind of playable game by early June. And June 6th is when the deadline or the airdrops additional pack staking rewards will end. So, you know, there could be a period there if it is only a beta and no earnings yet, that, you know, I guess there just won't be any more GLX hitting the system, at least not for that. And then Tower Defense, a little disappointing, but not surprising, was mentioned for end of June. So I've already said, and again, I mean, there's no shade on the team. I just think that June is way too crowded. I think we're going to get GLG early June. We're probably going to get LAN mid-June, and I don't think we're going to get Tower Defense in June. If it's already being pushed out, it's going to be the ugly stepchild, and we may see that in July. But right now, the earliest that we're seeing is end of June. So this was officially pushed back. Validator Private Net should go live in June as well. So yet another awesome thing, another step towards getting validators live. There was a question about soulbound reward cards on land and there being an issue. And I'll be honest, I don't remember the full thing now, but I hope that this is something that is looked at by the team and by the community. At the end of the day, I made a video a while back saying that I do not want soulbound reward cards used on land. You know, at this point, they're highly inflationary. So I just don't want to see them on there, right? But from what we've heard so far, they will be allowed. At least that's what I remember hearing. So hopefully we get some clarity on this if there is an issue or something that needs to be addressed. There's going to be some changes to the market. Again, this shouldn't affect you in any way. It sounds like they're going to introduce a smaller set of results. It's going to save the team a lot on the back end. It's going to save us a lot of data, so we don't have to load up everything, which would be great. There was more talk about tech modernization. We don't really know how far along in tech modernization we have gotten, but just know that tech modernization is essential for mobile. So every week or every maintenance window that they do have a new page on the tech modernization update, that is us being closer to having a better mobile experience. And then I thought this was interesting. I think it was Nate who said this. Again, I apologize, I can't remember. There's just so much. But the team isn't necessarily happy with the way that the daily focus is set up right now. And this could be the catalyst or core focus or core to shift towards a battle pass at some point in the future. So I don't know that we get a major update to ranked, but if we do, it sounds as though we may do something similar to like a battle pass at some point in hopefully the not too distant future. But that is really all I have. This ended up being a little bit longer than I was hoping, but I guess that's how they always go. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you listened to it, if you did not, would still love to hear from you. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next video and see you around the game. Take care.